Was it me or was that a tempo change in that?
There is a tempo change in that. There's a tempo change each and every week. Are you just now noticing that?
No, but it sounded really extreme this
Oh my
time.
God. Oh my God. It's okay. It's okay. It's Thursday. It's Thursday, and this is the State of Leadership, Simple and Beyond. That's Robert Hilliard. I'm Whitney Wiley, and we are here talking about all things leadership, except on those days when we're not here live. So, um, we're not talking about the countdown timer.
And I'm coming to you from my secure bunker. These are it's a children's fallout shelter here. So,
It does look like a children's library. There are worse things. You know what? And we've been talking about this because there are very instructive lessons in children's books, leadership lessons and life lessons, and we'll be sharing some of those with you soon. So again, it's Thursday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and we are here talking about leadership and workplace culture related issues. So you have a contract, you work, your employer pays you for that work. Whether you see it that way or not, that's what it is. It's a contract. And when it comes time for a promotion or a raise, the fact that you show up each and every day and do your job, does that mean that you should get the promotion or the raise?
no.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was rhetorical.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For you, it was rhetorical. What are you expecting from your job? What are you giving to your job in today's conversation? And you will get to answer all those questions and more, Robert. In today's conversation, we'll be addressing these questions and others as we explore what your job owes you, if anything, right? And here's the thing, no relationship comes without expectations. Some are communicated, others are not. Many are not. But your career boils down to this: it's your responsibility, and you should treat the management of your career like a business, your business, because your career is your business. And in my humble opinion, your job owes you nothing beyond what was articulated when you took the job, right? You came to some meeting of the mind of what you were going to give each other. And for each of us, that's something a little different. But the reality is, in order to get what you want from your job, you're likely going to have to go above and beyond the basics of the contract that you entered to get the job. And so that's what we're going to be addressing. Do you have any opening thoughts, Mr. Hilliard?
No, let's just get right into it. I don't have any opening thoughts just yet.
It's going to be one of those kind of days, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you're hiding in the children's bunker. It's just going to be a little weird. Is that what I have to look forward to?
No, I'm just teasing. I think that you said it really well. And, one of the things that I want to emphasize is in the contract that you have with the organization you work with, are you honoring your side of it? Did you agree to do certain things? And now that you have the job, you're not doing those things, or you feel that you don't have to do those things. That is, what I want to just bring to this. It works both ways. We tend to think that it works in one direction, but you entered into this contract in good faith. You said that you would do certain things, maybe work certain hours, take on certain responsibilities. And most people, I believe, when they make those kind of agreements, they honor them. But there are some people that feel that the interview is the play acting part of the work. And then when they get the job, it's kind of like people that take their driver's test. They do everything they need to do to pass their driver's test. And then when they get on the road, after they get their license, they drive any which way they want to. Some people enter their career that way. So they interview saying one thing, but when they get the job, they're a completely different person.
That is such a great analogy. And I think one that all of us can relate to. So I want to start here, entitlement, because you talked about it's a two-way street, right? But we feel like, and I think this does go both ways as well, that beyond the contract, written or verbal, or however it gets done, when you take the job, because some jobs there are actual contracts. The clients that I work with, they negotiate the actual terms of their work. Whereas most of us, we apply for the job, get an interview, we get a job offer, we say, yes, this is what we're going to pay you. These are the hours we expect you to show up. You do that. Here's the work that you're assigned. You do it and go on about your business, right? But some people actually have contracts where they negotiate all the terms of that work and the agreement. And so regardless of which one you have, there comes a point in time where I think both sides have a little bit of a sense of entitlement to get something from the other side without necessarily the communicated expectations that led to that sense of entitlement.
Agreed. But let's look at it this way. An organization wants to get the most out of the people that work there.
Yes.
At a reasonable, I don't want to say by paying the least, for a reasonable price.
Let's say at market.
At
right?
market.
Let's give the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, at market value. So they want to get the most work out of it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But some folks seem to think that they shouldn't, that there's something wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We all do that. I was having, and in full transparency, this came up because I had a conversation with somebody who was struggling with some of the things that were going on at their job. And one of the things that came up was they felt that their job was asking them to do things more than they should. But I reminded that person that when they interviewed for that job, they said that they were willing to do X, Y, and Z. Why all of a sudden those things do not apply? They still apply. And there's nothing wrong for, in an organization trying to get the most out of their employees that they are giving a market, a good salary to, let's say. There's nothing wrong with that.
And you're right. We do that in life. And I think it goes the other way as well, right? We want to get the most we can with the least amount of effort. That is not to say no effort, right? But why would I give more to get X than I need to get X? And so that is not the issue. The problem becomes when you are used to, this is the effort that I'm giving, right, to get X, and now I want Y, or right. I expect Y, or I feel I'm entitled to Y for whatever reason. Maybe it's tenure, longevity, something like that, because I woke up on the right side of the bed this morning and I just feel like I want to ask for a raise or a promotion, and I should get it because I'm the best person for that job. And maybe you are, but the effort that you've put out doesn't match, right, the next level. And so if right. you are feeling like you're entitled to something, first of all, you're not entitled to anything. And in most instances, a lot of instances, I don't know what the numbers are across the country, right? There's not a right to work. in every state in this country. And you and I are not in the same state. California does not have a right to work. There are, it's an at will. We have at will employment here, which means that basically the employer can let you go at any time for no reason at all. It doesn't generally happen that way because companies are interested in protecting themselves from lawsuits and other things. So there are hoops that are gone through and processes that are followed before someone is let go. But in reality, you don't have a right to a job. So there is no entitlement. There is no entitlement. With that said, go ahead.
Although certain people feel entitled.
Certain people do feel entitled. And there are probably some jurisdictions, I don't know where they are, what they are, where the right to work is a little more concrete, right? You have a job and in order to lose that job, at least some processes have to be followed in order to make that true. But the thing is that leads to a discussion about expectations. It's like, what are you expecting? And I know you and I are in agreement on this point that this relationship is supposed to work both ways. It's supposed to work for both the employer and the employee. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? There is mutuality of agreement there that we are both doing something for each other in order to benefit the other. And as long as the expectations are communicated, there shouldn't be a problem. It's the same as any other relationship, a platonic relationship, a romantic relationship, a business relationship, right? You and I lay out our expectations of each other when we're working on projects and when we are discussing, new ventures. We need to communicate. And so if your employer is communicating an expectation, and as you explained in your example, if I lay out an expectation because of something that you led me to believe that I could expect, then you don't deliver, there's a problem.
Correct. There's a problem. And I think that when I was having this conversation with this person, what I like to do when I have these kind of conversations, it can be sometimes hard the person is extremely intelligent, but I think that they were having a hard time understanding my explanation. So I said, let's shrink it. So I call it shrinking the system. I said, let's shrink the system. Let's look at it. It's a system. Organizations are systems.
Yeah.
The country is a system. Every state is a system. And there are larger systems that these things belong to. But let's just shrink the system or transform the system and say that this is a household we're talking about. And I said, say you have two children. And I said, you have two children. They have three things that they're responsible for. Eat their vegetables, go to school, do their homework. Both have to do those three things. Of course,
can I be a kid in that household?
I was going to say, we all know that kids have a lot more to do than that, but for simplicity's sake, I narrowed it down to those three things. So, and chores. So let's say 4. So it was eat your vegetables, go to school, do your homework, do your chores. So 4 things. One child does all of those things and then some. Helps you out. Not only do they do their homework, but they get straight A's in school. The other child doesn't really do all that stuff. Barely does that stuff. And they both ask you for something that they want. One wants a PS5, the other wants a mountain bike. So the kid that does everything and then some wants the PS5. The other kid wants the mountain bike. Who are you going to give the gift to?
Well, I'm going to give the mountain bike and the PS5 to the
right. It's pretty clear who you're going. Hopefully, you're going to, if you're not giving the other child the gift, you're going to impart a lesson to them.
Yes.
This is why you didn't get what you've asked for. And when I used that analogy, they were like, absolutely. I said, why is it any different in an organization? Why is it any different?
Right.
Somehow people, they know this. When we break it down, we look at the system on that smaller level, they get it. But when they go and work for an organization, that gets thrown out the window, and there's the sense of entitlement, or they feel that they're owed something because they're working for this organization.
Right. And I love your analogy, right? Because I can, in with both children, I have an expectation that they're going to do the things that were laid out. These 4 things. We've made that agreement. And in exchange for that, you have roof over your head, you have food, you get clothes, you know, all the things. This is what I'm doing for you. This is what I expect in return, right? This is what you can expect from me. This is what I expect from you. And there's some mutuality of agreement. And then you go and ask for something above and beyond that, and think that you should get something above and beyond it just because you asked for it. And I think that's where the breakdown comes in families, in any relationship, and also in this work relationship. Yes.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I was going to throw in there, and there's the implied gift. The implied gift. The mountain bike, there's also that. It's the same thing with an organization. There is an implied gift, the promotion, the bonus. It's implied. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but it's there for those people that meet certain expectations as laid out by the organization. So I was just trying to, get in there. I was doing a little double dutch.
No, I see it as, I have a choice, right? I'm the business owner. I'm the leader, the department head, whatever it is. I have something to give that the employees want. And I think about this in the context of applying for a promotion, right? Just taking that very simple example that you've laid out. You're applying for a promotion or you're asking for a raise, and I've got one such promotion to give. Why would I give it to you? Why would even if you are seemingly the best technician or the best person for the job, you haven't demonstrated an ability or a willingness to do anything more than the bare minimum. And so in the grand scheme of things, I'm saying that's not a problem. You've got a contract. You do your job, I pay you to do your job, right? Fine. Then if that's the relationship that you want, then be happy with it and keep it moving. The challenge, of course, comes when you want something different. You want something else, and you've not been willing to go above and beyond. And so this is why I made the statement in the opening about your career is your business, right? This is your responsibility. And it goes beyond thinking that an organization is trying to take advantage of you or to get out as much as it can without doing anything, because you're doing the exact same thing. You want the most pay you can get, the highest titles you can get, and do the least amount that you have to do to get that. And I think ultimately what we're saying is it doesn't really work that way. It doesn't work that way. So unless you've got a whole department of people who are doing just their job, and so you all are on even footing when it comes time to make a promotion, and assuming they don't decide to go outside to bring someone in to fill that position, unless you're all doing the exact same thing, then it's probably not going to work out to your favor about the quality of what you're doing. When someone else has stepped and gone above and beyond, we're looking at that person differently, right? We're seeing that person differently. And that becomes something that we want to reward. It's the behavior that we want to reward. And so you have to think about it in terms of what is it that you want ultimately? And what are you willing to do to get what you want? Not that someone else is trying to take advantage of you. And if you approach it from that perspective, right? If you use that lens or that filter in order to see, to scope the landscape, this really is about you. And it's about what you want. Therefore, it's about what you're willing to do rather than what you think is owed to you.
I think we would be really remiss if we don't incorporate another aspect of this. We're talking a lot about tasks, assignments, and things like that, but we also should include your emotional intelligence. There are some people that may not be as skilled as others, but they will get that reward, that recognition, that promotion because they are easier to work with.
Yeah.
I know a lot of rock stars and organizations that were constantly passed over because they were difficult to work with. They were entitled or they didn't get along with other people. And so we should also include that too. Your emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, building those relationships with others, being able to communicate your emotions to other people, being able to sense and see the emotions of other people. Those four components are really important to how you're viewed, how you're perceived by other people. So we should include that too.
Absolutely. And it's a reflection of how you see the world, right?
Mhm.
How you are interpreting what's happening and whether or not you're interpreting things in a way that ultimately serve you, or if you are interpreting things in a way that you think is detrimental to your to what it is that you want, right? And I think I've said this on numerous occasions on our program. Nothing has any meaning other than that which you give it.
Absolutely.
Not mine. I keep saying I believe it's Tony Robbins. I heard it from Tony Robbins. I should probably look it up, see who originated. It may be his. He may have been quoting someone else. But in the end, if you are choosing to see other people's behaviors as trying to take advantage of you rather than focusing on what you want and whether or not what someone is asking of you, whether it's an employer or anyone else, is what they're asking you, is that going to help you get what you want? If the answer is yes, then there's no need to look at it as something that is taking advantage of you or is asking more of you than the contract that you have, right? You're in a relationship. There, we are always, right, a romantic relationship. I'm in a romantic relationship. We are always doing that calculus, right? And when we had jobs and work for other people, or now with our clients, we're always doing that calculus. And so I don't feel like, a client that, and I actually had this happen recently, more a potential client that was asking for something that was not in alignment with the way that I have my packages laid out, right? I could have said, this person's trying to take advantage of me, right? Trying to take advantage of my expertise and trying to take advantage of my time. I could have looked at it that way, or I could have chosen to look at it in a different light. And in the end, I chose to look at it in a different light. We worked through some things, came to an agreement on how we're going to work together. But in the end, it is about what it is you want and what it is you are willing to do to get what you want. And these other pieces that we've talked about, entitlement, expectations, the agreement, your responsibility in all of this, those play a part. And you get to decide the part that they play ultimately in you moving towards what it is that you want.
I agree. I like the fact that you mentioned the filter because your filter your consciousness, I talk about this all the time. It's the sum total of all your life experiences. And that really determines how you see things.
Yeah.
So if you've worked in an environment where a previous environment where your organization was trying to get over on you, you tend to look at other relationships in that way. Or perhaps you're the kind of person that likes to get over on other people. You tend to think that everyone's doing
That
it.
everyone's, yeah.
So it's important to have a sense of your awareness. We talk about self-awareness nearly in every single episode that we do. I'm going to bring it up again. Having self-awareness about how you see the relationship,
Yeah.
whether or not you tried to get over it, you had that interview and you agreed to a bunch of things that you knew you were not willing to do. And then later on, they're asking you to do stuff that you feel is above and beyond. And you say, well, they're trying to get over on me. Well, you're trying to get over on them too. So I think that was part of the issue that the person was struggling with. And I brought that. It wasn't a client. It was a relative. And I had to bring that to their attention. It was like, well, you agreed to do some things that you really weren't willing to do. So who's getting over on whom? So really take stock of what's going on inside you. Be aware of how you approach things. Know what your filters are, know how you see the world, and realize that not everybody is approaching the world necessarily the way you see it. And I know that we're going to talk about what organizations do owe employees, but if what
That's your segue.
that's what do they owe employees? So they owe you safety. Need a place to work that is safe, physically, emotionally. You don't want to be working in an organization. You shouldn't be working in an organization that is harassing you, or with a boss that's harassing you, or that is unsafe.
Yeah.
They also owe you some communication, transparency. Let you know what's going on with the organization, how the organization stands in the market that they're working in, the industry, what's going on, how they're going to respond to certain external forces that are beyond their control. So they owe you that as well. They also owe you reasonable hours, a place where you can work a reasonable hour that, whether you're hourly employee or whether you're salaried, it should be reasonable. Now, that is kind of controversial because some organizations expect their salaried employees to work really, really long hours. But those are the kinds of things that you negotiate when you're having that quote unquote contract. So if they say, hey, look, and you and I had a very candid conversation about this months ago, when an organization told me when I was looking for a job, we'll hire you and you'll get paid the salary, but you're going to work 60 hours a week. I was like, that is not what I am looking for. Now, what if I had said yes and then wasn't willing to do that? It's that negotiation phase. And the last thing they owe you is a place where you can grow. That doesn't mean a promotion, but a place where you can grow, a place where you can learn more, a place where you can get better in your job, a place where you can explore certain possibilities within the organization. So those are the four main things that I think an organization owes employees.
And I agree with you. And ultimately, it comes down to this. If those are the basics of what the organization owes you, does that fit your vision for an organization that you want to work for? Right? And if you want more than that, then you have to have that conversation. You have to communicate those expectations before you get started, preferably, rather than after the fact. But at some point, you have to have that conversation of what it is you're expecting and what it is you're going to give in return for that, right? Above the basics. And if you will own what it is you want and then take the time to communicate it, you're more likely to get it than if you don't. And if we're not talking today about this phenomenon of quiet quitting, but don't let not getting what you want lead you to a place of quiet quitting and instead speak up, ask ask for what you want, have a discussion, be an adult, be the adult in the room if necessary. Ask for what you want, whether it's about working conditions, working hours, salary, opportunities, growth, whatever it is. Speak up for what you want. Speak up for what you want and see if you can get it. If you can't, then you get to make a decision about whether or not that's the right place for you. But your job owes you, the organization owes you the things that Robert laid out. Above and beyond that, you've got to use your words, ask for what you want, and see if you can get to a place where what you're expecting after communicating it, whether or not that's something that you can get, rather than operating from a place of entitlement for it and letting that lead you to applying some filters that lead you down a path that in the end may not serve you. So
Yeah. I think that's that's really great advice. And also I would like to add in there, if you're having this conversation and you're at different places with the organization, so you see your performance in one way, they see your performance in another way, ask the question, what will it take? What will it take to get me to where you want me to be? What do I need to do? What are the steps that I need to take? Don't just be put off by the fact that they don't think you're there. Ask the question, and then you can really gauge whether or not you're willing to do what you need to do to get there, or what they want you to do to get there.
exactly.
No choice.
Right. But you can't get anywhere if you don't know what it is that you want. So you got to start there. You got to have some clarity of vision for what it is you want and what it is you're willing to do. Have a conversation, as Robert just said. Ask the questions. If you're not seeing eye to eye on how what you're doing is translating, ask the question, how? And I know I've shared this story. It was about an evaluation that I had a few years back. I didn't get the scores that I thought I deserved. My question was, how can I do that? The problem was, the response was, I don't give those scores. Not, this is how you would get those scores.
Right.
And I kept pressing. If you were to give those scores, what would it take to get those, right? What would it take? Because I had been used to getting those scores from my prior supervisors. And this one had a whole different take on it. And that's fine. But I need to know. I need to know what it will take. So ask the question. Be willing to ask the question. You may not get an answer that works for you. And again, what comes after that is another episode. But you have to have that conversation. So,
what comes after this is another episode. I'm going to start using that in my conversation with people.
There you go. Any final parting thoughts?
Well, really, just know. I was going to say have integrity, right? But that's so nebulous, and of course, we're not saying that our listeners don't have integrity or people don't have integrity. But really understand and know that you're going to be expected to do the things that you agree to do when you're interviewed, or be willing to do those things. It's really important, because at some point you probably will be asked to do those. And that was the thing in the conversation that I had to remind that person, was like, well, you agreed to do these things. Did you think that why do you think they asked you? So it comes back. It always comes back. And when it does, you need to be ready. You need to be prepared to do those things, or have a very, very compelling reason as to why you're not going to do those. And
I'd say, remember the words in almost certainly in every job description, job announcement I have ever seen: other duties as assigned.
Yes.
right? And if you are not willing to do the other duties as assigned, that's not the job for you, because at some point you will be asked to do something that you feel is outside of your job description, and not doing it will have an impact, right? There are consequences to doing or not doing whatever is asked of you. And so again, will saying yes help you in the broader vision that you have for your career in this location or some other organization? And if it does, then you probably want to err on the side of yes. If what you have right here, right now, they pay me to do this, I do this, I get paid, and if that works for you, then go with it, flow with it. Keep this one piece in mind, though. What you want today may change.
Absolutely.
And the brand that you are building, people are going to remember down the line. So, with that, we want to thank you for joining us. If there is anything that we can do to be of service to you, if you need coaching or want to have a conversation about organizational development and consulting, please reach out to Robert and or I. You can do that through LinkedIn if you're watching us on LinkedIn, or you can send an email. Or I think we're on YouTube and Facebook. You can send messages through those platforms as well. And with that, we look forward to seeing you next Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. You always let me make that mistake. 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, for the State of Leadership, Simple and Beyond. And until next time,